This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, well, I'm pleased to be joined today by Ramona Wilson, who recently rejoined Knutson Construction as its Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Ramona will be based out of Knutson's Minneapolis office while working with the team across all of their offices in Minneapolis, Rochester, and Mankato, Minnesota, as well as Iowa City and Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Ramona, welcome and thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much, Brian. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I wonder if we could just jump right in and talk a little bit about your new job with Knutson and what some of your duties are. So, sounds like you rejoined the company after a previous stint there. So, tell us about that and what your new duties are.
Yeah, I have been with Knutson a total of 9 years now after rejoining them, the organization. I took a brief hiatus for about 8 months, and what have you, and this recently returned, and I was just so excited and felt so honored that even Knutson offered me this opportunity to come back to the organization, and be continuing this role in the D&I role. So it's very exciting for me, and I'm looking forward to actually taking my vision is to move and elevate our program at Knutson even further. So that is my goal. That is my mission, and I'm well on my way to achieving that mission. I've only been back now a month into it, so but the good news is that my learning curve is not going to be that difficult, considering I'm familiar with the organization and the people there. So looking forward to getting back in and really getting this work done.
Yeah, that certainly helps to be familiar with the organization. One thing I see from your resume is that in sort of your first run with Knutson, you had the were involved in the creation of the Knutson Alliance program in
Mhm.
2015, which provides development opportunities for minority-owned and women-owned businesses in construction. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I sure will. My role at Knutson is to look at ways that I integrate diversity across the entire organization. Knutson has three offices: um, Minneapolis, of course, Iowa, and Rochester. So I look at ways that what's the best way to integrate diversity and inclusion. So there's four pillars that I look at, Brian, to make that happen. So one of those pillars is workforce. The other one is supplier diversity or subcontracting, which I'm going to talk to and answer your question to. And then the other two would be community relations and also training and education around diversity. So looking at all four of those quadrant, if you will, and figure out what's the best way to move and integrate diversity from utilizing those four, if you will, I call pillars, to build the foundation for our diversity program, if you will. To speak to your program, then I'm always looking at how can I bring something unique to the table, something different than from other utility or other businesses that are doing it in this industry. What else is different? What's going to set us apart? As you know, construction is extremely competitive in an industry. So that way I had to look at, okay, what's going to set us apart from others? So that's when I developed what you refer to as the CAP program, Knutson Alliance program. It is a program where we provide it's a business development program for subcontractors. So I identify 10 to 15 minority and women owned subcontractors to be a part of this program. It wasn't going to be a 1 year stint. It wasn't going to be a 2 year stint because we wanted to see if there was going to be substantial growth with these companies from being involved with this program. So we did everything from creating an education, if you will, opportunity for them to bid opportunities with us on projects and what have you. And I also think it opened up doors to with other companies, GCs in the area, because because now they know that they have a foundation and a reputable organization that they've worked with, like Knutson, to do work. So it actually helped them become more involved with other companies as well. So we did that. We didn't, unfortunately, we weren't able to retain all 15 companies, subcontractors. As you know, some of them are going to fall off, move away, just change their businesses, whatever. We ended up with really, though, consistent 10 individuals, companies that stayed consistent with us throughout. And a lot of them definitely received and saw substantial growth within their organization. As a matter of fact, one of the organization, women-owned businesses, her growth was so significant, and this is part of her testimonial, not mine, that it was so significant that she was able to afford to position her company to be bought out, and that's what she wanted it to do, to be someone else to buy that contract, that company from her. And she will say that without Knutson's help, being a part of the CAP program, that probably would never have happened. So it's been a rewarding program for sure for Knutson.
Yeah, and how have those companies been doing? You mentioned it's, of course, it's been a challenging time here the last couple of years with COVID and everything else, and the supply chain issues and pricing. How have those companies dealt with those challenges? And is Knutson continuing to work with them on wading through these choppy waters, so to speak?
Yeah, it has been. It's been challenging for everyone. Now, like I said, I've taken I was briefly away from Knutson for the last 8 months, but that is definitely on my agenda to regroup that group and find out where we are, bring that group back and say, what's going on? What are some of your pains, if you will? And then figure out a way strategically along with Knutson how we can forge forward. I know that some of them have continued to be involved, and Knutson is committed to the program. I think one of our business development guy, while I was gone, Rob was taking the lead with that group to help them forge ahead. But I think in order for it to continue in the growth that we wanted to, Rob has his own job to do. So because they didn't have anyone in this role, it kind of went a little bit dormant for a little bit. So I'm back now, and it will be we will be regrowing that group again, getting them back, re-energizing them again, to bring them back to the table, to get to moving forward. Because I know they have, just like everyone, they have seen some challenging times since obviously with COVID, and how we can work through that. How can we help them move forward in the future as well?
Yeah, absolutely. What can you say, just in your experience working in this field? I know historically there's been a lot of challenges with regard to diversity and inclusion in construction. It seems like we're making at least some progress in that. At least people are talking about it now. And what kind of progress are you seeing out there, if any, and how far do we still have to go to have a industry that looks more like the country as a whole?
Absolutely. You know what? I have seen some growth, for sure, within Knutson. I'll speak to what I know in our industry, in our company, and then what I see industry wide. I have seen at Knutson commitment and moving forward. When I first joined Knutson, we were probably, I want to say, in our workforce doing about, in the field, I'm talking about specifically, in the trades, we were probably doing about, let's say, maybe 10% minority, and traditionally maybe 2 or 4% with women in the field. That's kind of like our average, if you will. When I left Knutson, we were well over the 20, if not 30% in some projects with minority. And then with women, we were also at the 10 and sometimes at 15%. So we are making significant, for me, I will say, we have made significant strides in Knutson in making sure that our workforce is definitely meeting the goals and objectives. I want to get beyond just goals, though, at some point. So one of the things that I try to instill in our group, our leadership in the field in particular, instead of always trying to restart that engine of 32 and 20, because those are the goals here in the Twin Cities for the most part on any project that you have with any where there's public money involved. Instead of having to restart that engine all the time and looking for 32% minority. Let's have a crew that established that looks like that already, so that we don't have to continue. And it's interesting because you don't really understand and see the impact of what you're saying to people until you hear them say it. So interesting enough, though, our superintendent, our lead superintendent, who has been just a breath of fresh air to work with, Dusty, he has just been awesome to work with in achieving the goals out in the field. And he is oftentimes communicate, I'm striving to get to the 32 and 20 and retain the 32 and 20 for our existing crew. And not only that, one thing that's really good is I just recently, in coming back, heard him say, I want to make sure that we have folks that are people of color and women in leadership roles in the field. So to me, that's a measure of success for me. I'm like, oh my, they're getting it. They're hearing what needs to be done and what have you. So for us at Knutson, I think definitely we have made some stride. That tells me that we are being successful in our communication in the space. Is there more work to be done? Absolutely. Then looking at the industry, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. The industry overall, I think that the sheer fact that other folks have kind of follow suit along with Knutson to identify roles like mine, D&I roles within their organizations, GCs. I think that speaks volumes as well in this industry, that they want to make change. They just have to have someone who's really committed and understands what it takes to make those changes in their organizations. And what I've always said, Brian, in this role, if you are going to be an effective D&I, you have to be willing to take risks. And you have to be willing, because you're going to make some folks uncomfortable. You're going to make some people resistant to change, that don't want to change and what have you. So it's important that our industry, the folks that are in these roles understand it, but to see that they're putting people in the role speaks volumes. Now it's up to those individuals to take it on the challenge and move their organizations forward in this space as well. So it is changing. It's slower than what we would like. As you can imagine, but it definitely has some work to go to improve in the future, for sure. I agree with you that our organization has to start looking like the people we serve, the people that are out there in our communities, reflective of that. And that's so critical in what we do. And that's why for me, coming in this next go around for me, as I put it, will be to really elevate our program to the next level and what that will look like for Knutson.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of conversation, of course, about workforce issues and things of that nature. So it just seems to make sense that you have people out there who are underrepresented in the industry, people of color, women. It just makes more sense to, why not go the extra mile to tap into those resources? And so
Absolutely.
Congrats to you for working on that. And also, I think there's been a lot of focus maybe on workforce and subs and suppliers, which is very important. But also, how about getting more diversity among general contractors, developers? I recently did a series of articles about developers of color. And so I think maybe that's one direction that we need to make more progress as well. Any thoughts on that? And maybe even there's a emerging general contractor out there that'll give Knutson some competition in the future. But
yeah,
any thoughts on
absolutely.
that?
No, you're absolutely right. I think that it has to start, and it does. And I think I did hear your I heard your story on developers in this industry. So it's great to see the few that are out there, for sure. There's the need for more, because really at the end of the day, they're the ones driving the project. You know what I mean? That's where it starts. And if the developer says, for instance, there's going to be diversity and inclusion on this project, there's going to be diversity and inclusion on the project. And what have you. So it really helps that if you get people of color and women in these roles, so that they can drive this effort for us as well, make it so much easier for us. And the reason that I say it's important too, a lot of times folks will kind of back off the fact that there's goals and why do we have to have goals. I'm okay with goals, to be honest with you, because we have to start somewhere, and it does hold us accountable. I think one of the things that a lot of the municipalities are doing. They have goals on their projects. And some people go, well, why are there goals? Are there quotas? No, they're not quotas. They're goals. They want us to achieve this. And what they're trying to do is to make us a better organization. They're helping us, believe it or not, become a better organization by setting those goals. And what have you, so that we know we are being inclusive in our bidding processes and across in workforce as well across our organization. So you're right. It will be great to see more, obviously, folks of color and women in the developing space. But I also think that some of the work that is currently being done, I really think in particular, the public work, and we're starting to see it not only in the public work, but some of our private customers are asking for diversity and inclusion. So it's growing more and more. And it's because people find it is important. And not only that, I had a school recently before I left Knutson the last time. I had a school contact me, and they said that their parents are asking for, it's a private school, their parents were asking for diversity and inclusion to be a part of the contract, the work that we were doing for them. Awesome. So the consumers are driving this as well. So it's awesome to see all those folks drive this effort as well.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And you're right. Sometimes if you just keep doing things business as usual, then you just keep getting the same old results. And also just building, I just think getting back to how this develops, how these DE&I efforts help the industry as a whole. I think of the late Senator Wellstone, who famously said, "We all do better when we all do better." And so congrats on the work you're doing. And I think we'll end up with a better industry as a whole as a result.
That is my goal, is that overall Knutson is definitely becoming, I want us, and we have been the leader in this space, and we're going to continue to be a leader in this space because Knutson is very committed. They provide me the resources, the time, flexibility, whatever I need to do to get it done. They are there and support me. So I can't say enough about what the support they have provided in order for me to drive this initiative, because they know it's important for their business to grow and what have you. So they get that. And so it's been great. And to like I said, it's been a privilege, to be honest with you, that they wanted entertain the idea of me coming back to work with them and drive this initiative for them.
Great. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, Ramona. Any parting thoughts before I let you go, or?
I would just say, Brian, overall industry-wide, is that we have to get serious about this effort, the D&I initiative overall. We just have to dig in and do the work. It can be done. There are people out there looking for opportunities, like you said, in our community. They are out there. They want to learn about the trades, believe it or not, and what have you. But we have to be, as D&I professionals, we have to be committed, and our companies have to be committed to ensuring a welcoming environment for people of color as well as women coming into that space. And we can do this. It can be done. And I think for the sustainability of the industry, it has to be done. So I'm looking forward to working with everyone in the industry again. I'm glad to be back. It's an exciting time for us to be able to forge ahead and move this needle even further.
Great. Well, thank you for your time, Ramona. Good luck in your new duties, and hopefully we can stay in touch. And I'd love to hear about any new initiatives you're working on.
You will. Thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Take care.
Bye.